Hello, friends. This is Jim with Science Talk. I have a report for you involving Bangladeshis and some of the challenges they face in the midst of yet another monsoon season. Homeless Bangladeshis are fleeing before, as the waters are rising around them. Rising sea levels, recurrent floods will mean more homeless Bangladeshis with unpredictably changing rainfall patterns, making things worse for them. So, in the middle of another monsoon season, huge numbers of homeless Bangladeshis are once again bracing themselves against the onslaught of floods, as well as chunks of land falling into the sea. We see something similar in northern Alaska, where we don't have the sea ice coming up to the land. There's more open water. Granted, it's not a monsoon, but we're seeing storms and so forth, and the storms are battering the coast, where the ice was actually serving as a protection, and battering the coast. Big chunks of land were just being eroded and right into the ocean. And in fact, there's been a couple of villages that had to relocate, just pick up everything and move in further inland. So things continue with rising sea levels around the planet. We're going to be lots of real estate's going to be lost. That's going to displace a lot of people. They're going to have to relocate. If you look and say within the U.S., we're looking at the Gulf Coast, Florida, the East Coast, as examples. Go to Asia, you're looking at places in China, Hong Kong, Beijing. Beijing, Hong Kong definitely would face some issues. And of course, India, Bangladesh, and so forth. So any low-lying area, a lot of the like the Maldives and so on, any low-lying area with rising sea level, the land's going to be lost. That's going to create climate refugees. So, Bangladesh is on the Bay of Bengal, is low-lying and crisscrossed by a web of rivers. 2/3 of the country's land area is less than 5 meters above sea level. There's estimated 166 million people there. It's a poor region, densely populated, one of the most densely populated, and it's also one of the most threatened areas on the planet by climate change. A recently released report by the Environmental Justice Foundation says rises in sea levels caused by climate change could result in Bangladesh losing more than 10% of its land area by mid-century, resulting in the displacement of 15 million people. So if there's 166 million people, 15 million, that's about 1/9 approximately. I'm doing a quick one in my head. Okay. That's a considerable, significant part of the population. Compounding this is unpredictable rainfall patterns. They're becoming more erratic, and this is linked to what's happening with the climate. You might have sudden violent downpours result in rivers breaking their banks, land being washed away. Rising sea levels mean land and drinking water is contaminated by salt. I did a segment a little while back where I discussed the infiltration of brine and how it's contaminating drinking wells as well as affecting irrigation. Plants, you can't water some plants that you're growing. You can't water them with salt water. That will ruin and destroy the crops. So I did a segment on that. Please go check it out. So if the land is contaminated by the salt, say the farmer's trying to grow crops, they have to abandon. And many of them do abandon, and they move to Dhaka, which is the capital. It has a population of 15 million people. It's considered a mega city. Bangladesh has a long history of floods, but what used to be a 1 in 20-year event is now happening 1 year in 5. This is from Salil Mulhoog, director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development in Dhaka. but it is what we would expect with climate change models. I have to pause here for a moment because I see these people posting on various online forums saying the climate models are terrible, they can't predict anything, so therefore any theory or hypothesis is worthless, and therefore the whole science of climate change is pure bunk. Obviously, these people don't know what they're talking about because we have pretty good models, and a lot of the predictions of the models are coming true. Like everything else, Earth is an extremely complex system. There are lots of parameters, and what makes things really more difficult to model is not so much the parameters themselves, which is difficult enough to get a good handle on, but it's the interactions amongst and between the various parameters. That is often very difficult to measure, to anticipate, and that can make modeling more of a challenge, more difficult. But progress is being made on that front. We're learning better, and improving the models. So when people say, oh, models are terrible and inaccurate, they don't know what they're talking about. So EJF, the environmental agency I just told you about, says climate change should not be seen only as an environmental issue. Climate change is also contributing to a rapidly developing humanitarian crisis, not just in Bangladesh, but other areas around the world. So, I wanted to bring you this report that as an example of how people's lives are directly impacted by what humans are doing to the system. Things are starting to happen, and it's getting to be extremely interesting, but it won't be good for humans. Anyway, thank you for your time. Hey folks, just a reminder to please subscribe and click the bell so you know when I drop a video. Please share my videos. Please tell others of my channel and of the work that I do. I also hope that you will consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa, where from time to time I upload videos there exclusively for my patron subscribers. Details in the description box below. Thanks.